The secrets of selling skincare to men. This is the focus group.
It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the focus group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Welcome to the focus group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Tim Bennett.
Hello.
Looking around. Camera. You can find us here live on most Wednesdays on Facebook and Facebook Live and YouTube. And all our media is at focusgroupradio.com, including our audio podcasts, descriptions of the shows, and information about us. And we encourage you to check out Unbuttoned. It's a podcast that we do once a week, audio only. It drops on Tuesdays, usually 3 topics. Thank you to those who are subscribing and listening. We appreciate it a great deal. And there we go. So here we are at almost the end of July, the Tour de France, which nobody in America watches. It's my version of the Super Bowl. Can I tell you that? Or the World Series.
I think more people read the Mueller doc than have watched the tour. Mueller report, don't you think?
Yeah, and as we're doing the show, we have Garrett and Steve in the booth bringing us to you with all the magic of the technology they command. Garrett just told us that it's going on now. The Mueller hearings are not progressing as smoothly as one would think. Apparently, Mueller's stammering a bit and not able to answer some of the questions. Because after all, he wrote this 400-page report months ago, right? This is not exactly like top of mind, right?
I was thinking about that. You know, I thought if you had written a thesis or something to get your doctorate, right, and it was 400 pages, and you submit it, and you get your grade, and you move on, something else, and then someone's on page 42 with the bottom paragraph 3.
Third word in.
Because I was listening early this morning, and I thought, well, okay, let me find that and see what the context was before or after, what chapter it's in. I mean, it's not. It's all a show. It's not. You know what? There's not enough time to impeach him and get him out of office. The only way to do it is go to the ballot box and vote the guy out. If you don't like him, go vote.
Cast your vote.
Right.
Cast your vote.
Because a lot of you didn't last time, and you did a protest vote. And as much as I get a lot of letters and complaints from all of you, there's only 2 people that run. You can pick an independent or somebody else, and guess what? That's a waste of vote. In a 2-party race, a protest vote doesn't count.
I heard from neighbors of mine who were big Bernie fans.
Bernie should be running as an independent, first of all, because as soon as he doesn't get the nomination, which will happen again, he goes back to an independent. He doesn't raise any money. He's just a loud old grump. Get off my lawn.
Well, in my building, I have a couple neighbors who are...
Sure, you've got a lot.
There's one bunch that are really Bernie, like Bernie. And then there's other neighbors, which I relate to a little bit more, that are like, I hate that grumpy old guy. And it's the same reason my friend down the hall says. She says, how dare he do this? You can't be this for your entire career, and then, I think I'll run as a Democrat. Okay.
Why does he run as a Republican?
That would be good, right? That would be good.
Why not?
All right, I'm going to change gears from politics for a minute and go to something
all tuned up.
Customer service related.
What happened now?
Well, you and I have been talking about this for a while, and I'm sure that many of our listeners have had similar issues, and I'm curious about something. So, a year ago, we hired Lowe's to change 6. We have an old house, a house out of the city. It's old, and nowadays the windows are all one unit. Storm window, everything's all one unit. But in these older houses, it wasn't. It's the window, then there's an exterior storm window. I've been slowly replacing them over the last couple years because they're about 25 or 30 years old. We hired Lowe's about 3 years ago to do it. The guys that came and did it, father and son team, neat as a pin. The job was perfectly done. There wasn't you couldn't find a piece of wood anywhere, like from the job they did. So I thought, well, we'll go to Lowe's again and have, but this time.
You didn't do them all at one time?
No, we're doing it 6 at a time around the house because there's 18 or 20 windows in the house. So this time I go back to Lowe's. The same guy came out to bid the job, to spec it up. And I said, are we going to have the Hummel company, the father and son? Not sure, but, it will be okay. Guys come in September. They did the thing. It was a disaster from the get-go. Imagine showing up at a job and saying to the client, oh, we didn't bring a ladder. We didn't realize those windows were up there. Like, okay. Second floor of a house requires a ladder, right? every single window they did, every of the 6, every one of them has a problem. One window, you look at it straight on, the storm window's crooked. It almost looks like it came out of a fun house. The contractor sent an inspector that agreed the job was badly done, it has to be redone. Then Lowe's parted ways with them and sent another contractor who never showed up again. Then a third contractor. What is this? What is a customer to do when they're literally left like we did it? They did it. They take the money, they do a crappy job, and they don't fix it.
So you paid Lowe's.
Yeah.
So Lowe's needs to refund your money and fix it.
Well, guess what? They don't do either. So
When are the windows going to get fixed?
when you sign a contract with Lowe's, you actually sign a contract that says if there's a dispute, it goes to arbitration. And depending on the state you live in and how much money you spend, you may have no recourse but to try to get them to go to arbitration. Now, it turns out in New York State, depending on the level of spend, I can take them to small claims court, which is what I'm going to try to do.
Wait a minute. Wait. So Lowe's is not backing up the fact that they hired a crappy
Well,
contractor?
they know it. They've gone
But
through.
they don't want to pay you back?
I told them on the phone the other day, I said, just refund the money. I'll find someone else to take apart the bad work and redo it, but no, we don't refund the money. No.
Well, then are they going to come fix it?
Last 3 weeks ago, I heard they were searching for a contractor out of our area because nobody in the area would do the job as spec'd by them. Imagine that. Imagine leaving some. So here's the thing about corporate America and customer service. So a friend of mine said to me, get on social media and start hammering away.
Yeah.
But okay, we have an audience, and I could start talking. And I bet you there's people listening right now or watching who are like, oh, yeah, Lowe's did this, they did that. I went online, and I read a thing about a woman who had hired them to redo a bathroom. They cut a pipe, and they didn't cap it properly. She left for the weekend, came back, $40,000 of water damage, which they did not cover. So I feel I got off cheap. I got off cheap, okay?
You know, a lot of people think Lowe's is the nicer of the two big.
I'm not so sure.
You know, there's Lowe's and Home Depot, and I'm not so sure either. You remember, I ordered a new washer and dryer from Lowe's, and my house was built in the 40s, and there was a washer and dryer down there. And the people who came to take it out unhooked it and then said it won't fit. It won't come out of the house. I said, well,
It got down there.
I said, the house was built in the 40s. I said, units were bought in the 90s. I said, we didn't build the house around them. I said, they came down. There's no railings. There's no nothing. Nope, can't do it. So they left. So I went back into Lowe's. I pitched a fit. The guy understood at Lowe's. Oh, yeah, we've had a problem with this crew, blah, blah, blah. My neighbor Brian, who both of us with bad backs.
You got it up the
We
stairs.
took everything out, put it out on the porch. So the same Yahoo showed up. And I said, it's funny. I said, the stuff all made it out. So it all made it out of the basement. They were too lazy to take it out of the basement. And then they brought the other stuff down, scratched it up, and then said they couldn't hook it up. So I ended up having to hire a plumber.
Oh,
Come hook
yeah.
up.
Well, now you bring me to my other Lowe's point. So one time we ordered a dishwasher to replace one that was almost broken down. Guy comes in, hooks it up, and leaves. About 9 months later, the dishwasher started to not run properly. It would just shut down automatically. It was electrical. Maybe there was a circuit problem. And then the incinerator, the disposal.
Korean?
No. So we had to hire an electrician to come who undid the wiring and handed me one of those plastic caps they put over the two wires. The thing was like a blob. It was melted. He goes, you are about 2 weeks away from a house fire.
Oh, my God.
He said, whoever installed this didn't do the proper work on the electricity. That warning bell number one, right? I should have looked at that dishwasher issue and thought,
How would you know?
so you trust these people to do the work they claim they're going to do, and they don't. And what do? So I have a contractor coming in October, the guy that did the windows originally through Lowe's, but it was the original. I call him up and I said, I got this problem. He said, John, I know it's bad, but here, I'll tell you another horror story. He goes, I went to a woman's house the other day. She hired Lowe's to do her kitchen. They ripped everything out, and the contractor never came back. A $26,000 job. He said he shows up. He tells her the timeline, when it's going to get done. They immediately begin working the next day. He sees her. She starts crying the next day. He's like, why are you crying? She goes, because it's actually happening. It's going to get done. And so that's my thing here is the guy that we deal with on customer service side is very polite. He's a New Yorker originally, lives out in the West where their service center is. He apologizes profusely. But every time he says, well, we'll get a new contractor, I'm like, how can I believe you?
Well, and you can't be the only ones with the window problem. That's what's kind of weird about it. This is when I miss my brother not living near my brother and my dad, because I say that a million times. My brother and my dad are both very handy and craftsmen or craftspeople. And so
That's for yeah.
From being politically correct, but they would have done a lot of this stuff that I ended up getting, and same with your issue. Like my brother could install windows because he's a carpenter.
Yeah.
And
These guys.
my dad does HVAC work and knows all that stuff and furnaces and air conditioning. So I miss having them because I know I'm getting ripped off a lot of times. I know that there was one time somebody was trying to talk me into a new system. My father's like, "You tell him to just put that little 20-cent part in there and move on."
I remember that.
He was trying to get me to spend $7,000 for a new system. My father's like, "You don't need that." But some people might say, "Oh my gosh, okay."
Yeah.
And the guy was not happy.
Well, and that reminds me of the time I went to get the car inspected and to have the oil changed. And the guy he goes, "Did you?" It was my All-Track, and he said,
You got screwed there.
he goes, "You have brand new rotors and pads on the brakes." He goes, "Those brakes are rated for 60,000 miles." He said, "What's the deal?" And I told him where I went. "Oh yeah, you went to that place. Well, here's the deal." He goes, "I hate them because they take people's money."
Was it Mako?
It was Mavis.
Mavis brakes.
And you know what he told me?
They do it all the time.
There was a tire shop, basically. He said, he goes, "In future, go to Walmart." You could have pushed me over with a feather.
Really?
I said, he goes, "For tires and service," he goes, "they're going to give it to you straight. They're going to they're going to look at it." He goes, "Rotors are supposed to be rusty. They're under the car."
Wet.
And he goes, "Did you miss the money?" And I said, "It wasn't that bad. It wasn't in the scope of
Still.
having a thing fixed." This is why people get super pissed off working with companies or taking it, like when service people show up, because you don't know when you're being upsold, lied to, or just being given the facts straight, right? Anyway, what caught your eye?
Tim and John found your eye. Here's what Tim and John found.
So many of you who are fans of the show know that a good friend of ours here, author Erin McHugh, has done a number of books, and one of my favorite books she wrote was One Good Deed, which was from about 3 years ago.
One Good Deed, yeah.
And in that she had...
A good deed every day.
Right, and she had a lot of great advice, and one of them was, particularly this time of year in the summer, if you see kids selling lemonade, stop and buy some lemonade.
When I bike ride and I see a kid selling, I always stop, and I always have singles.
Said it's good. You got to they got to make change. There's negotiation.
They love it.
There's
They
a
love it.
whole deal. So this story caught my eye because this little kid was ingenious. He's out of Utah, and the headline is: "The boy got cops called on him for selling ice cold beer." So right in front of a church, this kid's. So this kid is named Seth Parker, and he had a little sign that said "ice cold beer," and he was
the sign. I like the one next to it. "Want a cold one?" The number one with an exclamation point and a question mark.
So if you're watching on the video, you see the picture of him, and then I'll have you focus in on it. So what the kid did, he's ingenious. So he's in Brigham, Utah, in front of a church of all things. So he had this sign, "ice cold beer," and all these people called the police on him. They were all upset, giving him dirty looks. But if you what do you call it? Zoom in on the sign, you could see where he's got root beer.
You have to really zoom in on that,
Tiny. So it's ice cold root beer, and he was selling IBC root beer. So the police get called. He's in front of a church selling beer, minor. He's got his little cooler. The police arrive, and they just bust up laughing. And the police put it on their Facebook page and said, "This young man in the area of 600 South, 200 East has a twist on the lemonade stand. Yes, he's selling beer, root beer, that is. His marketing strategy has resulted in several calls to our police department, but apparently it's all paid off and business has been good."
It's all paid off and business has
business
been
seems to
good.
be booming since the boy went viral, according to his mom, Alexis Parker. He sold out all of his root beer on Tuesday. So she went to the store and bought some more. Another woman on Facebook came, and she said she'll be back tomorrow. And they did say maybe he should more easily make the word root bigger, because they said there's still people that are going by giving him dirty looks and upset by the fact that he's selling beer in front of a church.
Okay, I want to unpack a few things. When we were kids and we sold stuff, I didn't get dirty looks.
No.
Well, in fact, I remember one year my sister and I made these somewhat hideous God's Eye ornaments for Christmas trees. And we went door to door selling these God's eyes. And there was not one person who was even remotely like, I don't need a God's eye that's half-assed.
Old yarn.
Old yarn, dirty yarn, whatever, right? So, but we sold out. I would go home and my mom would be like, okay, how did it go? We're like, we sold out. We're going to make more God's eye. No. My mom would be like, no, I think you hit the vein there. There's enough God's eye ornaments in the universe.
They were just being nice first time around.
Yeah, but no one called the cops. You know, your kid, if it was your kid selling lemonade or root beer or whatever, that's their business. You didn't.
Well, I think the cops were called here because they thought he was selling beer in front of a church. It is Utah. So it was beer, but then, you know, if somebody had just stopped and seen his little sign and seen that he was actually selling root beer, which I thought was hilarious. I mean, the sign's great. The kid's smart.
You know, we should set up a scholarship fund for young marketing geniuses and entrepreneurs. And what would we give, like a $500 gift card or something?
And some
or
socks.
Maybe that's excessive for a kid because a kid could do a lot with $500. But wow,
I thought it was great.
I love that one. That's a good one. Mine is a very short caught my eye, and it's also a consumer one. And it's a woman has a hilarious note to Huggies to show that it might not have thought through its Toy Story 4 design quite thoroughly enough. So Huggies, to hook into the release of Toy Story 4 recently, released these diapers, these pull-ups. On the front is Sheriff Woody, and on the back is Buzz Lightyear. I don't even think I have to tell anybody in America who those two characters are. You should know. Emily Weber, a mom with a good sense of humor, recently pointed out a small issue with the Huggies pull-ups. And she sent them a letter. Dear Huggies, I completely understand that your new edition of Toy Story 4 designs are in conjunction with the release of the new movie. It's an excellent marketing ploy because, I mean, seriously, what 2 to 3-year-old boy doesn't love Toy Story? However, as a mom, I'll say this. Foresight would have been wonderful. I'm writing this as my 2-year-old is patting the front of his pants saying, I love my Woody, for about the millionth time this week. She goes, why can't Buzz be on the front?
I love my Buzz.
Sincerely, a slightly concerned yet seriously overly amused parent. So it's a funny story, but I love my Woody. And she's watching her kid run around all day long.
You know, and I saw that in the deck, and I was wondering what the story was going to be. I didn't even think about that. So the little kids are saying, I love my Woody?
Yeah. But he doesn't know what he's saying. So.
No. What if they got a response back?
You know, I have a friend I used to ride, I still do cycle with upstate. And one day, she has when her boys were younger, her and her husband are in the living room one day, and they're watching TV, and her youngest boy comes out, and he goes, and this is around the time that they're like kind of figuring out their body, whatever. And he starts talking about like what she thought was an imaginary friend, but it turns out that he named
His unit?
his unit. And
What was
when
his name?
I think the name was Morty or Tom.
Morty. I like Morty.
So let's go with Morty. So he says, Mom, Morty needs to do this. And she goes, who? Finally, they asked. And then he points down and I said, what did you do? And she said, you know, the first thing is to laugh, right? Is to say, she said, but we were really serious. We're like, is that what you want to call that? You know, like, so they took the high road. But I said to her, as a parent, aren't you laughing all the time? She goes, oh my God. She goes, it's the balance between laughing and being serious to make sure the
Or
kid.
to not let them see you laugh.
There you
Like
go.
When you got in trouble and your parents would go in the other room and laugh.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, business birthday, Mr. Nash.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
I don't know if you remember this guy. Today is July 24th. It's the 205th day of the year. The year's moving along.
See, you took my role.
What's that?
I used to normally say
Third week
it's
of the fifth month of the this.
the
and
third week of the 7th month of the
Are we in the 7th?
7 is July. Yeah.
John Edgar Bryson was born on this day, July 24th, 1943. He's 76 years old today. I didn't really remember him, but he was part of the Obama administration, former United States Secretary of Commerce.
Do you know why you didn't remember him?
Why?
No drama Obama.
Well, this guy did have a little drama.
Oh, okay. Okay, so what's the drama?
That's why I was surprised we didn't know about him. But he was the 37th person to hold this post since it was established in 1913. Prior to his position with the Obama administration, he served as chairman and CEO of Edison International, which was the parent company of the Southern California Edison, the electric company. Also a director at Boeing. You and I talked about this a bunch. We need to get one of these
I want to be
jobs.
I want to be on a board
Nobody
of
will hire us,
directors.
though.
And
they get paid.
lots. They get paid to sit there and say, to your point, I vote
You and
yes.
I can give advice.
We're being bad, but
No, we're not. He was born in New York City. His father owned a sawmill, and they grew up in Oregon. He received his bachelor's degree from Stanford and his law degree from Yale. You know, lest anybody fool you, most of these people that are filling these government positions went to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford. So if you didn't go there, you're not going to get in government. That's what I think.
not that high, maybe. Yeah.
Right. He so he graduated from Yale. While he was at Yale, he was involved with a number of environmental, I guess issues. He's very much an environmentalist. On May 31st, he was nominated to succeed Gary Lott as United States Secretary of Commerce because of his environmental views, and James Inhofe, the Republican from Oklahoma. Now, the obstructionist, he may be the least effective, maybe the least intelligent of any of our senators, and that's tough to say. Inhofe, you know that moron?
I do. Yes, I do.
He blocked him because...
Don't hold back on your feelings about the senator.
But he really is a moron. So Inhofe had blocked his nomination, put it on hold because of he didn't believe in climate change and all these other issues. So they were going to hold it against him. They later reached unanimous consent and voted him in. He was confirmed 74-26. But a year later, actually about 9 months later, he was involved in a pair of car crashes in California. And they were investigated as felony hit and runs. They couldn't quite figure out what was going on. He ended up resigning the following month, and he resigned due to the fact that he said he was having seizures.
From the car crashes.
Car crashes, but he was in these accidents and then leaving. But I'll say they were seizures. I mean, that's what he said they were.
So he would have an accident and drive away.
So he was involved in a pair of car crashes where he was investigated as a possible felony hit and run. He's said to have been found unconscious at the site of the second crash. And he said it was claimed he was having seizures, but he later decided that on June 21st, a couple weeks later, he said that because of his health conditions, he felt it was important to help Americans, entrepreneurs, and businesses build the economy and create jobs that were more important than him being a distraction on the cabinet, and he decided to step down, and they got another couple board positions. We didn't much hear about that.
No, and I thought you were going to go, here's what I thought.
I thought it was DUI.
There you go. If you have...
But it says seizures, so allegedly.
I thought that if you had a series of these events where he's actually leaving the scene, right, and he's claiming a medical thing, that it might have been... I think the police might have been a bit suspicious, but...
Well, if you had a seizure...
Oh, that happens.
No, I know that happens, right? But would you... And you hit something, and you knew it was a seizure...
I wouldn't leave the scene. I wouldn't...
Twice.
Yeah, so that's unusual.
Allegedly.
Right. Allegedly.
Happy birthday, John Edgar Bryson.
Business birthday always turns up something, doesn't it?
Well, you never know.
And this is one you never countered before, right?
No, we never talked about him before.
All right. As many of you know, Deep Discount is a friend of ours here on the Focus Group. They've been with us for quite some time. Go to focusgroupradio.com, click on the Deep Discount logo, which is a shark. Arr! I do a pirate. I do not know why. It's hardwired at this point. Maybe it's because the sea, treasure, I don't know. Anyway, Deep Discount has a great sale going on, Hollywood's golden age of movies, 1930s and 1940s. I'm going to start with Tim's pick because I'm actually surprised at you. This is a favorite movie of Bob. But anyway, sale is Hollywood's golden age. So what would you pick?
Well, I picked it because of that.
Oh, really? Okay.
And in our other show, in our other format when we were on Sirius XM, and we used to do a show or a bit called Pick That Flick. This was one that I think eventually somebody got. A few weeks later, they called in the clue. But it was one of the first that we stumped the audience with that they didn't know where the audio clue came from. But I saw this pop up. It's called The Big Clock, and it was originally released in 1948, 96 minutes long. It's a suspense film noir. It's got Ray Millard, Charles Lawton, Maureen O'Sullivan, George McCready, Rita Johnson, Elsa Lancaster. I love her. Directed by John Farrow. And it says it's a superior suspense film which classically combines screwball comedy and heady thrills. And so when I saw this, I thought, I know Bob loved it. I think Bob and I have kind of the same sense of humor.
You do.
And so I've never seen it, and I saw it, and I thought it's under $15 of the DVD. It's actually $10.49.
Could I say it's rarely on broadcast TV? And I don't know
I've
that
never seen it.
I don't know if I've ever seen it on a streaming service, but
So for under $11, you can get it at deep discount on DVD. If you wanted the Blu-ray, it's obviously a little bit
by the
more.
way, it's classic Hollywood where every room is enormous. You know, like the living room is like the size of
Fireplaces
5
you can walk
apartments,
in, right.
yeah, and 2-story ceilings. Or the offices of this. Ray Milland works for a magazine called Straightways or something, Straightways, and he's on one of the publications called Detective Stories or something. But all the offices are enormous, like boardrooms, big film noir, right? And it's all lit a certain way. I love the movie. I'm glad you picked it.
Do you have it?
Yeah, we do. Should I get you a? You want to borrow it, or if you borrow it, we'll have to rebuy it because you know how movies are.
I'll
right?
order it.
I picked a movie called The Snake Pit, which is one of my mom's favorite movies. Again, it goes back to that period, that whole film noir lighting stuff. It stars Olivia de Havilland as a woman named Virginia Cunningham, and I'll read the description because I think it sets it up nice. In this psychological drama, Olivia de Havilland is confused upon finding herself confused. So she wakes up in a mental hospital with no memory of her arrival at the institute, tormented by delusions and unable to even recognize her husband, Mark Stevens. She is treated by Dr. Mark Kick, Leo Glenn, and who is determined to get to the root of her mental illness. As the treatment progresses, flashbacks depict events in Virginia's life that may have contributed to her instability. So the snake pit thing, as they unwind her story, they realize that everyone around her, I think the husband might have been the ringleader, is trying to drive her crazy. And they eventually made him succeed. I'll leave it at that.
Sounds like my life.
People driving you crazy, too?
All the time. I was looking at the cover. It came out in 1948, but it looked to me like it was now.
They colorized it. Is
that what they did? Okay.
But it's a black and white movie. And by the way, I love black and white movies. I really do. There's something about them that's just so fun to watch. So I said Snake Pit. And the release this week is Hellboy on Blu-ray. Now, I know... Are you guys familiar with the Hellboy franchise and the comics and stuff?
Yep.
Do you like him?
Not a big comic guy myself.
But I wouldn't call
my
Hellboy...
friends love him.
I wouldn't call him a superhero, though, right?
I don't know that.
I thought it was a show on Compound Media. Hellboy.
He just left, actually.
He just left.
Yeah. Garrett, you need to do the kadun-dun. Nicely done. So Hellboy is back, and it's a new movie on Blu-ray. There have been a couple Hellboys before this one, but this is the newest iteration that came out last year. And I'll leave it at that. Check out Hellboy, the new movie, because it's a fantasy kind of fun thing, and he has to tackle 3 demons: the Blood Queen, someone else named Mew, and
Weren't there giants? You don't like big. You don't
That's
like.
it,
You don't
that's
like big
it.
and little.
well, I don't mind giants, but
Giants
I
are
don't
okay.
wanna
You don't
be-
like miniatures.
I don't want to be miniaturized unless I'm in the
Okay,
movie
I can't believe you have a
Fantastic
phobia
Voyage.
in that. I make you a little mouse. I could put you in that Lumin box.
That's why I have a phobia about this.
We're gonna put you in a box.
You lose control. You're miniaturized, you lose control. Anyway, we're way off course. Take
All
us
right.
out.
Hey, listen. So head over to focusgroupradio.com. Click on the deep discount logo. It's Hollywood's golden age sale going on right now from the 30s and 40s classics. I picked The Big Clock. John picked The Snake Pit, and the new release this week is Hellboy. Right, Mr. Garrett?
Thanks, Deep Discount.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got the Chief Marketing Officer, CMO in our vernacular, from Lumin Skincare for Men, and he's going to join us here. His name is Patrick Pan, and talk to us a little bit about men's skincare.
And the challenge of selling.
challenge of selling this. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with Tim Bennett. And as promised, sitting next to me, but if you're on audio, you don't know what side, I'm just going to say sitting next to me, is Patrick Pan, who's the Chief Marketing Officer of Lumin, Skin Management for Men. All right, before we begin, Lumin's going to be joining us for a little bit on our show over the next few weeks. Tim has already actually been sampling the product. I just started myself.
See my glow?
You do glow, and your skin is tighter. But let's start with Patrick. All right. I read Patrick's bio on LinkedIn, and I fell in love with the following paragraph. Beyond professional endeavors, Patrick has worked with animal rescue operations as a fundraising consultant, also as a social therapist for formerly abused dogs. Thank you. Tim would thank you too. We love pets. Helping them to rebuild trust in humans and to successfully transition to life with permanent families. This is the part, I love that, but this is the part I love better. In his leisure, you will find him diving coral reefs around the world on marine conservation projects, improving on alpine skiing skills, and performing the occasional vocals at intimate live music lounges. If you put there afterwards that you like your martinis shaken, not stirred, I would say you're the next James Bond.
I would have actually not argued too much about that, except I don't have the smoothness, I don't have the British accent, and not as many pairs of suits in my closet, actually.
Or tuxedo.
I thought you were going to say John pulled the wrong bio. That's not me.
That's that guy waiting over there. Yeah.
So another thing I saw in your LinkedIn bio before we start talking about Lumin, and I liked it a lot, is 60% scientist, 40% artist. Can you describe, what does that mean to you?
You know, it's there's a lot of people that have been discussing what a CMO actually does in an organization. And from my perspective, I've been intersecting with marketing throughout my career and never actually traditionally had a pure marketing title until now. But marketing has always been a key part of my skill set. And so during that time, I think I developed really a balance of certain things that I find plays really well with other executives in the company. And part of that balance comes with being somewhat data-oriented, being able to use precision types of data to be able to make decisions. And also to have that creative side and use the artistic piece of me and be able to come up with things that really resonate and transcend different types of markets with that data. And so the mix of 60-40 scientist to artist really just speaks to how I approach a lot of things. In the workplace, outside of the workplace, I tend to think about things that I come across day to day with that approach. And I think most of my close circle of people will attest to that.
Oh, I like it. And I think that's a good example of a CMO, right?
Yeah.
What's that look for?
Well, because you went to Berkeley.
Yes.
And then you went to the London Business School.
Correct.
And two very different
Culturally, too.
yeah. places. How did you have a favorite?
I grew up in California, so Berkeley was a natural transition for me. A
Right.
different transition, but still a natural one. When I was thinking about going to get a graduate degree, I thought about different schools in the States. We have some pretty top schools around this country also. But I thought about it, if I went to one of those schools, it would have been primarily American students.
Right.
What happened in London was the school artificially makes sure that there is a good mix of different nationalities out there. So our class when I went had 80 different countries represented.
Wow.
We had just the most amazing...
Were you all in? Did you move over for the full? Okay.
All in, moved over. All these people moved over from different countries around the world for 2 years in London. Just an incredible experience, talking to different people with vast experiences. We've got former astronauts, former professional rugby players, former soldiers, veterinarians, doctors, lawyers, the whole gamut. And our classroom conversations were so rich because of that, right? We could discuss something where it would be about ethics in manufacturing. Do you use child labor? Do you use things like that? In the States, it would have been a huge no-no. From the Western perspective.
Even talk about that, you think?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then, but then one of my classmates says, you know what, without child labor, my family would have starved. And so that's one of those things where you've got different countries and parts of
Perspectives.
Africa or
Yep.
Southeast Asia that see it differently. And it's just, there were so many examples like that that completely opened my mind to a lot of things.
Selfishly, one of my favorite brands you worked with or worked on, Nest
Correct.
Fragrances. What did you do there?
I was one of the earlier folks actually over at Nest Fragrances in its heyday, before it
I
became
love that. I
massive.
love that stuff. I mean, were you part of marketing then?
I was. I was probably the only marketing person for a while at Nest, and also the guy who set up the entire e-commerce business and digital side.
So when you say that because you started with John, you said you didn't really have a traditional, or you didn't feel you had a traditional CMO sort of role, but you always have been in marketing, right?
Yeah. Even when I was looking at as a sort of a growth investor, I was looking at different companies and naturally would just step into the marketing roles to help build a brand and get some traction going with the market.
Now, we're going to play a little game here because Tim and I are from the marketing and advertising world.
Yes, you
Tim,
are.
Director of Marketing Advertising for 15, 20 years at Subaru. I've owned 2 agencies. They were LGBT focused. I'm a creative director. Let's play like you just hired our team as your agency, and we're going to be debriefed by you. And you come in and, normally an agency is going to ask you about we're going to ask you some of these questions, biggest challenge, etc. Lumin, skin management for men. The first thing and this is like an insider thing for our listeners, is I think this is an amazing heavy lift from a marketing point of view because men are notoriously, and I'm using air quotes, difficult to reach because they're very habit-based. Mm-hmm. Breaking a habit's almost impossible. Like some guys have been shaving with the same blade since they were in high school. How can you change that up? So as your agency, I come in and say to you, what's your biggest challenge with Lumin?
With Lumin, it's definitely about trying to reach the fit for the market that we're trying to find here, right? Lumin is a skincare product formulated in South Korea, currently still the world leader in skincare innovation. And they...
Really? I didn't realize that. So South Korea is a leader in...
I would say so, yeah.
So if we want to look younger and better, I should be relocating to South Korea. But
the things that they've been coming up with is incredible. Things I've never seen before in the States. And I'm just always stunned by the next thing that they keep pushing, right? But on Lumin's side, with the male segment that we've got primarily in the United States and parts of Europe and Asia and whatnot, there's always going to be that hurdle to get men to get used to doing something beyond just rinsing off their face with some soap and maybe putting on lotion every now and then. There's a full regimen that I feel every guy can really benefit from. I came partly from the skincare realm. I consider myself a pretty informed guy when it comes to skincare. And even I sometimes just have questions about things where I don't know what product I should add to the regimen. And so I find that there's a lot of men asking the same questions. They want to take care of their skin. Looking good is an important part of the conversation for them.
what do you call your face?
It's a moneymaker.
It's a moneymaker.
Face your moneymaker, right? Well, you talk about, we've talked about before, guys will spend money on the gym, they'll spend money on good clothes, a haircut, some of us, right? Hair products.
I used to have product for my hair too.
But you never think, and one of my challenges, and I was so glad you were coming in, is that I was trying to find my skin after I shower, whatever, it gets dry in the face, and then it gets oily toward the end of the day. But I wanted a moisturizer, and it's impossible to just find something for men. Even if you go into one of the box stores in a mall or something, you feel a little weird because it's all very female focused. And I think you had mentioned in some of your bio here with the points is that men's skin is in fact different than women's, right?
Correct.
And why or how is it?
Men's skin tends to be just a lot more rough in texture and sometimes rougher in thickness as well. The products that tend to work for women's skin are meant to penetrate a lot more pristine conditions, and I think with men's skin it becomes it's a different chemical reaction actually. Men's skin tends to produce a lot more oil sometimes, and depending on the type, but in different spots of the face too. And so to have a product that's meant for a universal use across different faces, different money makers if you will, it really is, it wouldn't necessarily work for everybody in the same way.
So back to our little agency scenario. To me, it's a puzzle I would love to solve, and you believe in this product a great deal. You like it a great deal. I think it's really cool from what I've tried, and I'm kind of not your typical guy, but I'll just say this: I've had problem skin for years. I had one dermatologist say to me, "Well, you don't want problem skin, just stop at the gym and stop riding your bike, stop sweating." So, you touched on something interesting a minute ago, like how do we find out about stuff, right? So I could ask a friend, and in fact, I'm not even sure guys do this. What do you use on your face? I have never seen that happen in a locker room. I've seen certain guys who take really great care of their skin. They come out of the shower, they have a whole routine, they're in and out, boom, but they have product, right? But I wouldn't go up to someone and say, hey, I love your skin, what are you doing? So is information and education a big part of what you're doing with your marketing push for Lumin?
It's absolutely a big part, and I can't remember the last time I worked with a product where there wasn't that informational
Seriously?
and education aspect involved. You're always trying to, as a marketer, create that market for you or expand the market for yourself if you can. With men's skincare, there's just so much of an information gap out there with guys who may not know exactly what's the right thing to do for their faces, right? Even just something as simple as sunscreen. So crucial. I always just say, look, sun protection, sleep, water, that's half the battle, and then everything else is a good regimen because it's there's got to be that commitment, and it really only takes 1 to 2 minutes a day. And so,
What do you do? You go through what's your typical?
I do. Lumin is actually now about 70% of my daily regimen. I always use sunscreen. Lumin, I actually use the charcoal cleanser to be able to get a lot of the grime off my face. Probably I'll use them more frequently if I'm walking up and down Fifth Avenue here all the time. Taxi fumes coming at me.
I didn't even think about that, right? Yeah.
Or the exfoliator for that matter, every maybe twice a week or so.
Do you use them in a certain order?
I do. I exfoliate, and then I use the cleanser.
And then moisturize.
And then I moisturize. Right.
Okay.
And if it's
That's what Tim was like. He ran me through the whole thing with
and
me.
it's before bed, a little bit of the dark circle cream under my eye.
I'll
Just to
vote for
wake
that.
up feeling like I've slept the full 8 hours, even if it's only 6 or 5.
So is Lumin only available through mail order, or can you buy direct at any locations, or how would?
Lumin right now it's available worldwide. Actually, we ship to more than 80 countries at this time, and it's available at luminskin.com, but also available at certain retail stores and boutique stores around the country.
It is, okay.
Yeah. It's actually, if you walk over to Hudson Yards over here,
I was literally there yesterday.
yeah.
I went to the Roan store.
oh yeah,
And I have never been over there, and I recognized that you guys had a store there. So how's it doing over there?
it's not too bad actually. We're testing the retail environment over at Hudson Yards, working with one of our partners, Beta, to be able to put this product on the shelf.
So it's standalone?
Standalone, no, it's actually shared space within a retail environment. Yeah.
And then so if you had mentioned that South Korea was the kind of the leader in skincare technology, is there one country that does a better job than the U.S. in terms of men that want to take care of their faces or their skin?
I would say there's a lot of countries that do a better job because the U.S. is actually quite. It's very diverse in thought, if you will, right? There are certain, if you go to San Francisco or Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, New York City, there are a lot of guys are committed to taking care of themselves across the whole spectrum. So gym, hair things, and then face, and a lot of the different factors. But if you go to other parts of the country, sometimes guys just aren't as they don't focus as much on that.
Right.
They may not think it's as important for a man to do that. Guys should age properly, as they would say, or guys should age like men do. I mean, fair. I absolutely understand that, but I think you could, it's a part of your health, so why not commit to it?
So do you have a couple countries that
I'm curious. Yeah, if you say one of your top ones, I'm guessing it's got to be a Western European country.
One of the top ones would be Western European countries. Exactly. It's actually Germany. They do a really good
Germany.
job.
See, I wouldn't have guessed Germany. I was thinking you were going to say Norway, maybe, or
Yeah, I was
Denmark or
thinking
something.
France, but I think Germany makes a
Germany.
lot of sense to me. Yeah.
Well, the thing with the Scandinavian countries like Norway, I think they're so free of stress that they never need skincare. But
do a sauna. It's
If you think about the hype, the fast pace, high stress, really effective people in Western Europe, it'd be Germany.
So, when you approach marketing Lumin, like if you go to luminskin.com, I think it's luminskin.com, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You can buy individual products, which means you would probably have to have an awareness having used them, but you've made it pretty easy. You 3 basic kits you can get. One's called Classic Maintenance. That's what me and Tim have been using. One's Age Management, and one's the Correction Trio. And what I liked about this site was when you click on the what is this for, it actually says here's what, and you're like, oh yeah, this is exactly who I am. I'll buy this kit, right? What percentage, or is there a lot of people who buy a kit and do that for a bit and then just switch to individual or select products for the rest of their Lumin experience?
Sometimes, actually, but it's a minority. Most people, when they go for the starter and they start with the sets, they realize that they actually like the regimen for themselves. If there's some adjustments, our team will make those adjustments for them, substitute in a product if we will, or add a certain product if they're using it extra fast. But for the most part, people identify with and enjoy the curated sets that we've come up with. And for the most part, it simplifies them. It goes back to the equation of how do you make it so that it's fast and easy to think about without having to put too much effort into it. And that's really what men need at this time to build that habit. It's to be able to think about it in a way that's simple, where they don't need to go through too much of what's the sequence here, and just be able to use it and then continue on with their day or night.
We're talking with Patrick Pan, who's the CMO of Lumin Skincare for. Is it skincare for men? Can I say that? Or
You can say that.
Skin management.
Skin management.
And by the way, before we forget, and we won't forget, but right now, if you go to luminskin.com/focus, there's a free trial that you could get courtesy of Lumin and the focus group. It's a $45 value trial set, but all you have to do is pay $5.95 for shipping. And
Tim said to me before the show began, he goes,
that.
Anybody would be crazy not to spend $5.95 to
Be
try
done
it
with
out.
a
It's a
stick.
great deal.
No, and it's great. And I love the exfoliator and the cleanser. I really felt a difference right away when I used it. And the other thing which surprised me, and that's what I always love about when a brand does something that goes beyond your expectations, all the trial pieces that can have my name on them,
Right.
printed on the label. You're smiling. Was that your idea?
That was not my idea. It's something that certain customers enjoy.
It's very personalized, and I thought, wow, this is pretty cool thing. You know,
This is
'cause-
for our listeners. This is what the classic maintenance kit looks like, and it's all designed to travel in your DOP kit really simply. So I think it's fantastic.
what did you bring us? You brought some stuff here?
Actually, well, first and foremost, I brought you guys some stuff here.
Uh-oh.
Because what you didn't get in the classic maintenance set individually,
Right.
when we last spoke to him, you mentioned that you wanted to take care of certain dry areas of your face. And so there's a recovery oil.
Oh, thank you.
That was not available in the classic maintenance sets. One of my favorites, actually, with them on the portfolio.
So, and what's this little card? Oh, so the card's the instruction.
Yes, it is.
Perfect. So before sleeping, roll onto the. Oh, perfect.
roll. That means there's probably like a little roll tip applicator.
It's a roller
It's
applicator.
called simplicity in a package, in my opinion.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, great moisturization. And free, John, actually also not available in your sets.
This is, I think I read about this.
Yeah, this is the Dark Circle Defense. One of our absolute best-selling items.
Are you serious?
Actually. It is.
Best-selling item?
Yeah, just because so
This
much.
has my name on it too.
Oh, does it now? Somebody on the team likes you.
That's great.
Mine has my name on it. Someone on the team likes you.
Yeah, but
Someone,
when
someone in a
Patrick and I
high
spoke
place.
last week, John, I told him you had dark circles under your eyes, and you were complaining about
You
it.
mentioned it, and so I thought,
Thank you,
I
Tim.
think it was.
This is why guys don't talk about skincare. Can you imagine locker room scene? God, I got to do something about these raccoon eyes. You know what I do?
But you see, you don't talk about it one-to-one, but you could talk about it to the third party, and then
You
right.
get something.
I have a friend who.
Exactly. Right. And the eyes actually say it all. So that's what the Dark Circle Defense is actually a.
Thank you. This is really
seller.
cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
And it works.
Absolutely. And this here is this might be the first time people are seeing it because we just got this ready a couple of days ago.
cool box.
It's launching very soon. It's going to be the Lumin Complete Collection.
Wow.
It comes in a box, and it's all of our favorite products in one go.
Let's see if we can.
So, Patrick, it looks like you went through a bit of a package redesign as well for this.
This collection, absolutely, yes.
So everything's in black. So you get everything that actually it's everything we talk about. It's the
Can you
maintenance.
Can you guys zoom in on that and see if we could see that here?
Steve's, there we go.
What's this little card? Is that a little welcome note? Or
There's going to be a welcome note personalized to the person.
I'm trying to do this back.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
It's launching within the month, and
But it's the complete collection.
complete collection.
Everything you get at this site.
plus the extra deluxe microfiber towel that we've got.
I kept mine wrapped for display purposes. And what do you use the micro towel for?
It's there are certain towels out there that tend to be, especially washcloths, that tend to be a little bit rough on the face, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, but men of, for example, my grandfather and my father's generation, they tend to wet the towel and then just wipe the face down like as if they're buffing a car. And it's not necessarily the right approach you want to take to the face at this time if you really want to make sure you're retaining a lot of the good oils that you produce, and make sure that some of the exfoliation is not too rough. And so the microfiber towel sort of strikes a very good balance for that.
Nicely done. I'm impressed. I think it's a cool. So you said this is launching
Probably about a month
from now, and you'll be able to find it at luminskin.com as
Correct.
well.
So is this the sort of thing where you? So if you had gone and did the skincare regime, that you would? Do you get on an automatic refill sort of? Or is that an option?
That's the option. You can do a bi-monthly subscription, which would be every 2 months we'd be able to send you the products that you would need. And then you never really have to think about it. It shows up on your door, and you can just continue using it as you would daily. I use mine twice a day, and that's about how much it
Morning and
Morning and night, yeah. Or you have the option to just buy things sort of a la carte. And
So
choose.
do you do it after you shave?
I do, yeah.
And would you use the exfoliator after you shave, or?
So
Because I always think of
I
shaving
actually-
as being a kind of a brutal
It is,
form
right.
of exfoliation.
Every guy kind of has their own preferences. My personal one is I would exfoliate first, just to get a lot of the dirt off the face and dead skin as well, and then cleanse, and then it's a shave. And then after the shave, it becomes a moisturizer, or if you want to put an aftershave on before that.
See, this goes all. See, guy. All right, we're playing agency again, and I'm sitting here hearing you talk, and I'm your creative director, newly hired creative director, and I'm like, okay, guys have a routine. They get in the shower. It's hair, face, body, whatever, dry off, shave. Or some guys even shave in the shower because they want the hydration. Right. This alters the habit, right?
A little bit.
So let's say you would exfoliate and do the charcoal thing, then shower. Maybe not. Like, so you see that? Like,
You know what I did?
what?
What I do? I shave first.
You shave first?
Always have.
Before everything.
Before everything,
How do you
I
do
wet
that?
my face. I get hot water. I wet the face. I shave. I did the exfoliation afterwards. Then I did the cleanser. I left it on my face. I got in the shower, wiped it off, came out, dried off, put the moisturizer on.
That actually works too.
I've always shaved first, and I think it was because when I was in school, it was always tough to get in the showers, and so I reversed everything because everybody was running to get a shower and then going to shave and taking up the sink. I had the sink, and then I had the shower because I reversed it. So and I've always done that. I've never shaved after the shower. I think you get dirty after that.
To each his own.
Thank you, Patrick. You've heard it here first. And he was
Patrick's not buying my. He's not buying my.
he was so diplomatic. To each his own.
You know what's more important, though? What's more important is if you've got that habit and you stick to it, right? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a daily habit to yourself, personalized to yourself, that you can do, as it's just a commitment to your health, the health of your face. So
Your moneymaker.
your money maker, exactly. And so if you've got that habit, do it.
So one last thing. Seeing as how you are so very schooled in business and marketing, are you happy? And this is probably not the best format to answer in, but given all either your preconceived notions about how to sell and market a wonderful product like Lumin, and then there's the reality when it hits the road, and then you start seeing, well, this worked, this didn't. Are you pretty happy with what your thought was going in? That's the 60% science, 40% artist who says, I think we're going to have to do it this way. Is it pretty much going as planned?
You know what? I don't think anything's ever gone as planned in
Well said.
in this line of work, right? But that's the beauty of it, is that you've got to be able to make adjustments on the fly sometimes and make sure that you're always serving the customer the way that they want to be served, or the way that they are best served. And from that perspective, I'm actually very happy with the direction the products have been going and the brand, mostly because There's a set of our customers who are we call our very best customers for the reason that they actually understand the importance of having a routine to stick to and use daily, and they love the products and they continue to buy the products, and they've been our customers for some extended time now. And so to be able to make sure that we are always making it relevant for guys, even those who don't know what skincare really entails, make it easy for them to be able to at least try it and know that it works, see the glow, have their girlfriends or wives or partners say, look, this
Whatever you're doing.
Whatever you're doing works.
Keep doing it, yeah.
Exactly. That's the goal.
I was going to ask another one, but from our car days, there was a car called the Honda Element. Was it that boxy car?
Yeah.
That was designed to appeal to the
Gen X.
But who ended up buying it was everybody over 45. Right. Have there been any surprises in what you thought was the target consumer, and then, hey, surprise, surprise, this group over here is buying and loving the product. We didn't even anticipate it.
Yeah, there have been some surprises along the way. Some of it comes in the form of different countries. We actually sell pretty well outside of the U.S. as well. Different places. With the political environment the way it is today, it's actually not controversial to say, look, your skin is still important to you. I don't care what your beliefs are, I don't know what your opinions are, but you've got skin, most people. And
biggest organ in the body.
Biggest organ in the body, exactly. Very cool trivia stat. You've got skin, and take care of it. And that actually transcends across different places where I felt have a lot of political turmoil happening even right now, but they're still taking care of themselves, and I think that's a great thing. Here in the United States, actually, same picture. We actually spread across, in terms of looking at the consumer stats, we're across the entire political gamut in the sense of people that are in certain coastal areas that tend to understand more about skincare, even for men, and why it's important. They're buying it in droves. People in other parts of the country that tend to say, you know what, I probably don't need skincare. It's really not for me. It's for my wife. It's for my mother. They're still buying it in droves. They're just not talking about it as much. And so,
that's the part of the whole thing we're familiar with this from our marketing and advertising world. It's
universal, Guys still want to look good at any age, and it's universal. That's really not a very debatable topic there.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us. We're loving the products, and
thank you for our gifts today.
Thank you.
Good to know. Absolutely.
For our stuff today. And
my raccoon eyes will thank you.
Of course, we'll be talking about it in weeks to come as I get a new face, as my moneymaker gets.
Watch the transformation week after week.
I'm gonna look like that guy. Is that you?
We should do, Tim? We should find a picture of you at about 25 or 30, and we should somehow Photoshop it in. Look what Lumin.
We'll do Lumin apps like they did.
The face.
Oh, exactly. Very cool.
It's not a face pull.
I call it a pull. It tightened up for me. So it's Patrick Pan, who's the CMO of Lumin, and as we said, go to luminskin.com/focus, and you'll get a trial kit, which is a $45 value, and you'll get to sample and try the products like we do for just simply $5.95. Make sure you use the code FOCUS, so it's luminskin.com/focus. And we want to thank you, Patrick, for joining us.
Thank you both. It's a pleasure.
You'll have to come back and see us again when we get our new faces.
I would love to.
My new faces.
I can't wait to see that reveal.
Thanks, Garrett. Thanks, John. Thanks to our friends at Deep Discount. And
What?
What's that?
You say thanks, John?
Yeah, well, John over here. Did I say? I said Garrett and Steve. I'm sorry. Garrett and Steve.
Catch
and
that
John.
one, mister.
Yeah, you did catch it. Good. And Patrick.
He's watching.
And our friends at Deep Discount and our latest partner here in the focus group, luminskin.com. So everybody have a good week, and remember, don't text and drive.
Arrive alive. You almost need that etched into a thing.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.